Okay, so I have been on TikTok a lot recently, and I've noticed a very interesting trend. So I thought that I would look into it a little bit more and like make a video about it. So I'm just gonna like look through a bunch of TikToks, talk about. I have like some really vague notes. I tend to have a script, but I have like 3 bullet points, so that's great. Um, yeah.
Bang, bang.
Hello, Bimbo Incorporated. How may I help you? A girl gay, they or non-binary babe is letting a man hurt them again? If you're seeing this, this is a sign to be the baddest bitch you've ever been.
Want to eat glitter. Capitalism is the root of all evil. Men should shut up.
Girl.
Why do I like men? Glitter. What was I just doing?
Pink.
Step on Republicans. I want more money.
Girl.
I will.
What's really interesting about this to me is that the word bimbo tends to be, or at least before this year, it's tended to be used very pejoratively. Like it's kind of like an insult. A bimbo is like a hot but dumb girl, and if you look through like film and TV, it's tended to be a very misogynistic trope. It kind of, you know how you have that whole like dumb blonde thing? Yeah, that's the bimbo essentially. It's limiting what women can be. You know, like smart and attractive. Ugh, imagine! Imagine! No, you can only pick one. And the bimbo is not smart. She is hot and nothing else. And it's kind of like limiting what women can be all the way down to their looks and their desirability to the male gaze. And you know, that's not ideal. That's not it. It's not it. So seeing the bimbo come up increasingly on my For You page and seeing it being used in a very positive light, that was really interesting to me. And so yeah, I wanna look at what the difference between a bimbo in like the traditional sense is and what the Gen Z bimbo, as Chris C calls it in one of her TikToks, the Gen Z bimbo. I want to really see what the difference there is. So yeah, I think one of the best TikToks to probably watch first is...
Who is a bimbo? What is a bimbo? These are multiple questions that I have been getting from millennials. Who is the Gen Z bimbo? A bimbo isn't dumb. I mean, she kind of is, but she isn't that dumb. She's actually a radical leftist who's pro-sex work, pro-Black Lives Matter, pro-LGBTQ, pro-choice, and will always be there for her girls, gays, and theys. If you're homophobic, I'll castrate you. Listen, this is an inclusive organization. There's bimbos, thembos, himbos. I don't do this for the misogynistic male gaze. I do it for my gaze. And damn, my tits look good. It's about emotional intelligence at the end of the day. And remember, we always step on Trump supporters. Hey, is that a Trump supporter? Ew!
I think what's really interesting about that TikTok in particular, because I feel like it's a nice microcosm of like all of bimbo TikTok. I think what's really interesting about it is that it doesn't reject all these traits that I mentioned earlier that bimbos in traditional media are supposed to have. Like, they don't reject the dumbness, they don't reject the bimbo is supposed to be hot. It's kind of like a reclamation, it's repurposing it. So yeah, sure, she might be intellectually, I don't know, unintelligent, which I think I want to come back to. I think that's a bit of a nebulous concept. I want to come back to that. But she's incredibly emotionally intelligent. Yeah, sure, she's like hot and like hypersexualized, but she does it for herself. It's an act of self-empowerment. She does it because she likes the way she looks and she likes the way it feels when she, you know, sexualizes herself. And I think that's a really cool concept. Now, to go back to the thingy about intellectualism and the bimbo, I think that it really links very nicely to the anti-capitalism, because she said that the bimbo is anti-capitalist, because I think it just very nicely illustrates that to be an anti-capitalist, to be critical of capitalism, is very much a matter of emotions. It's a matter of being able to empathize with people who are suffering. It's a matter of being able to look out at the world and go, this isn't good, this isn't good enough, people are suffering needlessly, you know, we're being overexploited, overworked, we're unhappy. What is the root of our problems? And I think that's something that we really, really need to look up to. And another thing is that when she says, the whole intellectualism thing reminds me a little bit of Ben Shapiro. And this kind of like machismo, this intellectualist machismo. And one thing I've noticed going through her TikToks is that she has this like recurring motive, I don't know, character. It's not really a character, I don't know, but it's like the film major student. So she'll make a TikTok and it'll be like, hey, I'm not gonna me trying to imitate Chrissy, be like, hey. She'll make a TikTok and she'll be like, hey, you know, don't let some guy with a film major degree, you know, walk all over you. And I just think that's really, really interesting because film majors are kind of notorious, especially guys, especially men that are film majors. They're kind of notorious for that intellectual machismo. If you look back at my video about cancel culture and like heroes and what we do with our heroes when they disappoint us, because they will inevitably disappoint us. There's a whole section where I talk about Quentin Tarantino and like film bros. They're kind of notorious for being low-key misogynistic, very crap. I don't know how to word this, but like their whole thing is like, oh, I'm smarter than you, like, you just don't get it, it's cinema, and like, why are they trying to silence us, and like, crap, they're pandering to the left, pandering, and like, oh no, the leftists are taking over all our media, that kind of vibe. So I think it's really, really interesting that we have this like link between, and again, I think that the whole concept of IQ is a very nebulous concept. Like, intelligence is way too complicated to be able to like put it on a number line and like plot somebody exactly here. I mean, don't you get more intelligent as you grow older? And besides, there's different types of intelligences. Like, I know the kind of ways that I learn and the ways that I don't. Like, I am awful at thinking in 3D. Like, my brain just, like, graphs, I don't get it. It's like you have numbers, but they're on a plane. Like, they exist, I just don't get it. But I'm better at things that are more conceptual. I'm better at, like, theoretical understanding. And, well, the IQ only measures one kind of intelligence, and I think it's very much a product of capitalism. Like, the IQ, the concept of the IQ is very much a product of capitalism, and it serves capitalists well because they can sit down, because what it measures is your ability to do well under a capitalist system, to be a better worker, quite frankly. The type of intelligence that it measures is the kind that is useful to capitalism and to capitalists. So I think that kind of rejection that the bimbo does, that rejection, like, I'm not gonna, you know, it doesn't matter if I'm not good at school kind of intelligent, like the emotional intelligence, the ability to see people and see their pain and see their suffering and be able to like empathize with them is way more important than my ability to like sit down and take a test. Because what do tests do? Like, you take tons of tests, you go through the whole school process, you take test, and you come out with a piece of paper that says, yes, employ me. You're more than your employability. And I just want to talk a little bit about, this is going to be such like a chaotic video because I did not plan this at all. I was just like, I have thoughts and I need to, you know, do something with them. So yeah, this is the video. But I think I'm not going to talk very much about Bimbos just because I don't feel like that's my place, if that makes sense. I don't want to say something that's like ignorant or I just feel like somebody who has a better understanding of it and of the way non-binary identity might intersect with bimboism. I love this so much. Like, I can't express how much I love, like, the concept of a bimbo. Like, I just, of the Gen Z bimbo, that is, anyway. So yeah, I feel like somebody who might understand that a little bit better should probably talk about that. I don't feel like that's my place, but I want to talk about the himbo, just for a little bit. I think the himbo in traditional media is less of a thing. Like, the bimbo is everywhere, man. Like, everywhere. Men love hypersexualized, unintelligent women. they love the concept of being able to, like, again, I'm doing a lot of, like, broad generalizations, but if the things that we see in media is anything to go by, then men should love the concept of hypersexualized but academically, or, like, unintelligent women. Yeah, women, and it kind of bothers me a little bit that unintelligence, I really don't like the concept, but it bothers me a little bit that unintelligence is something that men are finding attractive, because it just makes me feel like you always have that power imbalance, wouldn't you? Like, it just kind of rubs me kind of funky that because another thing about the bimbo is that she's hypersexualized, but she doesn't always have the awareness that she's hypersexualized, and that for me is a red flag. Like, that lack of consent there. Like, it's not like she sexualizes herself and she does it, like, purposefully, and she knows that she's being sexual and she's, like, enjoying that sexuality. It's like other people are finding things that she doesn't necessarily intend to be sexual, just inherently sexualized, and that just makes me very, very uncomfortable. Because that kind of, like, lack of consent, that just, I don't like it very much. So I think it says something about society that bimbos are so, like, rife in the media. But yeah, let's move on to himbos now. Himbos are less of a thing in media. I don't think I can even... Can I? Oh, yeah, I've seen a couple in, like... I think I've seen some in, like, cartoon shows. I don't even know. I can think of, like, tons of bimbos, like, just off the top of my head, but not so many himbos. And I think that links to that, again, that intellectualist machismo. You know, the ability to, like, fight, but, like, in the arena of, in the marketplace of ideas. The marketplace of ideas. Yeah. So yeah, himbos are less of a thing, but I think they are still quite a bit of a thing. But the difference between the himbo and the bimbo, I think, is that while the himbo's lack of... Oh God. The bimbo's perceived unintelligence is sexualizing. The himbo's perceived unintelligence makes him more lovable. Like, that difference between the sexualizing and just making him more attractive and, like, lovable, I think that's very, very interesting. And I think that generally as a society we tend to be very hesitant to sexualize men, so his unintelligence doesn't make him any more sexual than he makes himself sexual. It just makes him more lovable. And I don't think there's too much of a shift from the himbo in traditional media to the himbo on TikTok. The himbo on TikTok still has all the same traits, the lovability, the slight, like, aloofness, they tend to be quite big and, like, muscular, but not in an intimidating way. And I think that that's really interesting, because you have the himbo as sort of, like, antithesis, as, like, an opposite to the himbo. I mean, to traditional masculinity, to that like Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, like hyper masculine intellectualism type vibe that they have going on. It's weird, I don't like it. But then you have the himbos, like a sort of like alternative, instead of skinny white guys, you know, going debate me and like Ben Shapiro destroys liberal snowflakes. Instead of skinny white guys doing that, you have not so skinny, not always white guys, you know, being lovable and being kind and being empathetic. Again, with the himbo kind of being like an opposite to traditional masculinity, is that where you have the traditional masculine man being super cold and harsh and unempathetic, you have this sweet feeling super empathetic guy with the himbo, with it just kind of presents like an alternative masculinity. It's saying that you don't have to be harsh and cruel and unfeeling. You're allowed to express emotions and be hurt and grow and learn and just be human as a man. And like I really love that with the himbos. I think the only kind of qualm I have there is that the himbo and bimbo are both very emotionally intelligent, but I think the only qualm that I have there is that emotional intelligence and school academic intellectual intelligence, the Ben Shapiro type, but like toned down obviously, they can coexist. And being emotionally intelligent doesn't immediately mean that you can't do well at school, you can't, you know, take tests and do well at them, you can't grasp super complicated. Again, it's not like these people are stupid, they're not idiots, like they understand these big complex concepts like anti-capitalism, right? It's just that if you get them to take a test, they might not necessarily do like very well on it. So yeah, I think the only like kind of like the only little that I have is that kind of like separating the possibility of being both emotionally intelligent and academically intelligent. You can be both at the same time. So yeah, that's my little thing on himbos and bimbos done. Yeah, so if you want to suggest more videos for me to do, then it's probably a good idea to follow my Instagram or I don't know man, do whatever you want, and or Twitter, because then you can like, I do polls and you can like vote on ideas or like leave me suggestions in the comments. You can know when my next videos are coming out and just generally keep up with me and like my ideas and stuff. So yeah, do that or else.